People, what's going on? What's going on, everybody? What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the channel. This is Man United Central, guys. I hope you all can hear me. Yeah. Welcome, everybody. Welcome. We're gonna jump into Eric Ten Hag. You know, we have a crucial game coming up here. In the next few hours, I would say, right? We have a show that is starting here very soon, and we need to talk about it, right? We're going to talk about it to see, okay, what is going to happen? Who is going to be playing, right? So that's what we're going to be discussing or talking about today, right? We know Ten Hag had his press conference, right? He had his press conference. What was that? He had his press conference. Let me just move this camera right in front of me right here. Make sure you can see me nicely. Right? I think that's much better positioning. That's what we do, man. When you're live, you got to move things around. You got to trigger them to see, okay, what makes more sense, the way it's sitting. I think right here is better. All right. So let's talk about Ten Hag, right? He had his press conference today, and I know a lot of us, we were wondering, I'm thirsty, guys. Cheers. If you haven't done so already, smash a like, hit the subscribe. This is Man United Central. This is sparkling water, berry, something. Cheers. All right. So, press conference, Ten Hag. He did his press conference today for his game versus Southampton. All right. This is a crucial game for Ten Hag. We know that, right? Because the way our season started, we won 2 games out of what? Out of 3, right? That is something that is basically unacceptable, right? We know that it's unacceptable because, we need to win these matches, and right now he's at a point that he needs to make sure that, okay, in the next game coming up, we definitely have to win some of those matches, right? Hopefully we win all of them, really, to be more precise. We got to win all the matches coming up, but at this point in time, we're just going to have to make sure that Ten Hag has a team that is ready to go. All right, so what did we learn today from Ten Hag on his press conference? One thing is this. Ten Hag, he was saying that first thing first, Manuel Ugarte could make his Manchester United debut this Saturday against Southampton at St. Mary's. Manuel Ugarte, who played 90 minutes in his last game, I believe it was against Venezuela. He was actually the last player to get to Carrington. So he arrived, I think, yesterday or today, right? Most of the players were already there from international break. So he was the last one to arrive, but he arrived and he is fit and available. That is the key. That is what we wanted to hear. We wanted to hear that Ugarte is available. So what? Now the reason that some people thought that, okay, he might not be able to be available is because he had he was struggling during the last 2 games that Uruguay played. He was struggling with a fever, so he played through. He was not 100% basically, right? He had a fever. He kept on pushing through, and he played through it, right? So a lot of us were thinking, okay, even if he comes back, Ten Hag could probably say, you know what, I'm not gonna play him. I may just say, okay, let me just not risk him. You know what I mean? So that's what we were thinking. But obviously, Ten Hag here is saying, look, he's back and he's in training. So hopefully, he will have training maybe tomorrow and Friday, and then the game is Saturday lunchtime, which is early. So I don't know how he's gonna do it. Hopefully, he does make the team, right? So so basically, Ten Hag said, he returned to Carrington just in time. So Ten Hag is optimistic that he will be available. Obviously, this is a huge opportunity for Ugarte, who missed out on the Liverpool game due to late arrival, right? Which, again, we are hoping that he can make an immediate impact, because we know one area that we need to bolster, we need to make sure that it's up and running and ticking at the highest level. It is that midfield, right? That midfield, it needs to be ticking, because right now, having Casemiro there, last game against Liverpool, he's basically with his rookie mistakes. I would say rookie for a person who has won each and every trophy out there, right? The experience level that Casemiro has, making those mistakes, that was a disgrace, right? Again, Casemiro could be suffering from age, right? Um, Obviously, his mind could be still on point, thinking that he can play a certain way, tenacious. He can cover ground very well. He can make those passes. But sometimes the body's telling, hey, dude, you're getting up there in the age, you're slowing down. So some of those mistakes against Liverpool, it could be that, hey, those passes, he was like, listen, I make these passes every day. What did I do? You know what I mean? So again, I'm happy that Ugarte is back and playing those two games for Uruguay. The first game he played 70 minutes. The next game he played 90 minutes. He proved to Ten Hag that, hey, he is available and fit. Because listen, even though he had a fever, he played in his last game 90 minutes. So it means that, listen, even if Ten Hag, for example, starts him, he doesn't have to play the whole game against Southampton, right? He can start him in that midfield. To me, ideally, I would like to see Ugarte, Kobe Mainu, and Bruno in that midfield three, right? That is how I would like him to line up. And of course, you can start him, and then maybe at 60th minute, you sub him. Hopefully at that time, we're leading maybe like 2-0 or 3, right? And then you bring in Casemiro to walk us through the end of the game, right? That, to me, that will be ideally what he should do, right? But is Ten Hag going to do this, or is he going to play safe? Because we know how Ten Hag rolls, man. Ten Hag could be like, listen, people, smash a like as you come in, hit that subscribe if you haven't done so. Thank you so much for everybody for joining. Thank you so much, all you guys, for hanging out with your boy. This is Man United Central. I'm your boy Luther. We're talking about Erik Ten Hag's press conference for our game against Southampton coming up on Saturday, right? Games will be coming thick and fast. Ten Hag needs to string some wins together, or else, listen, his head could be on the chopping block, right? So starting with Southampton, we want him to go on the front foot, play his best team, not his safe team, right? I say best team, meaning that my lineup, is going to go like this. Onana in the back four, it will be Matthias de Ligt, Lisandro Martinez, left back, Dalot, right back, Mazraoui, midfield, Ugarte, Casemiro, Bruno, right, left wing, Rashford, right wing, Amad Diallo, up top, Xerxes. That is my best team, and that is Ten Hag's best team based on what he has now. Because based on the report that he gave us, the injury report, we really don't have anybody new that came back, right? Ten Hag said Luke Shaw and Rasmus Højlund will not be making the trip to Southampton. Both players have been sidelined due to calf and hamstring injuries, respectively. Shaw, who hasn't played since February, was expected to be close to return, but it looks like he and Højlund will be missed once again, right? And the next chance for them to return might be against Burnley in the Carabao Cup, which is next Tuesday, right? It is also, of course, it is a frustrating situation. We're hoping that we'll get both of those back, because based on the projection that the medical team at Carrington had given us, they had said, okay, these two could be back after the international break, right? And again, obviously, the injury of the medical department at at Carrington, they are wrong once again, because again, when they put this information out there, they said, okay, these people will be back, and of course, that is not the case, which is frustrating for, of course, Ten Hag. And we thought that, listen, doing the revamp that Ineos and the team had done, at Carrington, one of the things they did from the reports that we saw was basically they revamped that medical department, right? Because of last season we had a whole tremendous slew of injuries, so we thought, okay, they brought in a new guy from, I think it was from Arsenal, one of the medical doctors, and the entire team was being right. They brought in some new people, but again, it looks like their projection that Luke Shaw and Rasmus could be back after international break. It is not correct, but it is what it is, because if you think about it, for Ineos and the entire team, the footballing team, they should have addressed that left back situation, because Luke Shaw and Terema last year, they're not dependable, right? So we're risking now playing Diogo Dalot and Mazraoui at the same time, because those two are supposed to cover each other. So by us using both of them, and what if one of them gets injured, then you're put in a situation where you're like, okay, what are we gonna do here? Which is not ideal. Ideally, we should have addressed that in the transfer window during the summer. But of course, Ineos, the whole team, they felt, you know what, let's not address it now. We have other priority positions, defense. They brought in Euro, Matthias De Ligt, Mazraoui. Midfield, they were able to get Ugarte in, Xerxes. We needed a striker, so they prioritized those areas, thinking that, you know what, they kind of roll the dice, thinking like, you know what, we can kind of wing it. Hopefully, Luke Shaw comes back and gives us some few games here and there, and then Malacia also comes back. He gives us a few games, right? So they were kind of hoping that will be the case. You know what I mean? So we shall see. Ideally, Luke Shaw, when it comes to fullbacks, man, on the left, he's one of the best, but he is not dependable, because even if he comes back, right, he's gonna come back. Maybe he's gonna play, a few games, and then next thing, I know you guys will not be surprised when you hear, oh, Luke Shaw is injured again, right? So, which is, frustrating for everybody. So, we shall see what's going to happen in the left back situation. But the way Ineos and Eric Ten Hag, the way they're dealing with the left back situation, they're saying, okay, we have Dalot who can play left back. Mazraoui can also play left back, and also they have Lindelof can play left back, and then also there's Lisandro Martinez can also play left back. So they feel like they have some coverage, especially like this time for once. When it comes to our defense, we are stacked in defense, right? We have coverage, backups and all this stuff. So they felt, you know what, let's kick it down the road and then deal with it. Maybe by worst case scenario, if things get really bad, they can deal with it during the winter transfer window, or next summer, where you can bring in permanent solution instead of bringing in stop gaps, right? They didn't want to do stop gaps for any department, because there were free agents out there, Sergio Region, Hermoso. They didn't want to go for any of those, because that is just, you're putting a band-aid on a situation, right? And you know what? If it all fails, we still have Harry Amos, right? Even though he's young, he's not ready, but he can also play. But of course, with him, you got to give him time, Harry Amos, to to get to up to par on playing for first team. So you got to give him time. Same as Collier. They're young, they're potential. You got to give them time to get to the next level, right? The way Kobe Mainu came straight into the first team, that usually you don't see that, right? You usually don't see that, because usually these kids, whenever they're brought into the first team, you give them a few games here and there, right? And then hopefully they can a few games here and there, and then you see what's going to happen. You know what I mean? What's going on? What's going on? I see Love My BFF. What's going on? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Goat, welcome, welcome. Hello, bro. Welcome. Smash a like, people, as you're coming in. Smash a like. Thank you so much for joining. Right? So that's what we're hoping will happen. So again, recapping: Rasmus Højlund, Luke Shaw not available for Southampton. Ugarte made it back just in time, and made it just in time. So he has a potential making his debut, right? And let's see what else is going on from his press conference. Okay. Again, other reports we're talking about, of course, during the international break, I'm sure a lot of you guys saw Matthias de Ligt had a couple of howlers, right? In the Holland Netherlands national team, right? The last game they played, 2 days ago, 2 days ago, he got substituted at halftime. Both games he had quite a bit of mistakes, right? And these mistakes from the first game, the Netherlands won. The second game, his mistakes cost Germany to score. And of course, he was subbed at halftime. So this itself, as a defender, it is very, damning, right? Because it kind of kills your confidence. You know what I mean? So the British media and everybody was, going for him, telling him like, "Why did Man United sign this guy? He's not any good." Blah blah blah, blah, right? So I'm hoping Ten Hag, right, in this game coming up. I gave you my predicted lineup, right? My best case scenario, what he needs to do in that back four, he needs to start Matthias de Ligt, even though he had a terrible international break. He needs to start him. That way you can build his confidence, right? But if Ten Hag goes like, you know what, I'm going to play safe. I'm going to go with Maguire because, listen, Maguire will. Ten Hag knows what to expect from Maguire, right? Maguire at Southampton, he will do the job. But that's not really what we want to see, We want to see Ten Hag, be more confident, more like adventurous, more taking chances, saying, listen, in the long run, right? My, two center back partnership, I want it to be Matthias de Ligt and Lisandro Martinez, right? I want them to build a relationship. That way they can understand what was going on. Just like Martinez had with Varane. They had a really good relationship. They played very well. They made us more solid in the back. We were not leaking goals like crazy when those two were fit, right? And so that's what I'm hoping Ten Hag will say, you know what? In this game with Southampton, I'm going to start Matthias de Ligt, even though he had a terrible international break. Don't punish the kid because of a bad international break. That won't be fair. Because from the Liverpool game, he played decent, right? He played decent. That's why, he shouldn't be punished because of international break, right? Now, of course, Ten Hag may say, you know what, hey, man, listen, I'm going to take you off the firing line because already there's a lot of hoopla going on about you, like, talking about your mistakes. So again, it's risky as well if you play him and then he makes a few mistakes that cost us the game against Southampton. Obviously, people will go after Ten Hag, right? Saying, oh, you know what? You knew this guy was not confident. Why did you play him? Or if he doesn't play him, he plays Maguire, and then Maguire does a type of thing that Maguire would do. He costs us a game. Then it will be again. They'll go after Ten Hag and say, wait, what are you doing, dude? You spent over what? Close to 50 million to buy this new shiny player. You're not playing him. You're still going to play with the old player that you have in Maguire. Well, what's up with that? So it's a lose-lose situation for Ten Hag. Hopefully he makes the right choice, starts the Ligt, and obviously a loss. It is not an option because if we lose against Southampton, guys, I don't know what to say, man. It is gonna be a disaster, right? It's gonna be a disaster. So he has to make the right choices, pick the right players to guarantee him the win, right? At this point, listen, a lot of people are calling, well, Ten Hag, this is year 3. We should be seeing like a style of play and all this stuff. At this point, guys, I do not care about the style of play, okay? I want the 3 points. You know what I mean? I want the 3 points on Saturday because we have 4 games coming up. We need to win, all those 4 games, right? To shut people up. Because if Ten Hag loses that game against Southampton, and then, yes, he's not going to be fired. He's not going to be sacked on Saturday, but that will really put him very close from the chopping block because now all these people, like the reporters and everybody, they've already written their little stories and the little tweets. They're ready to go, hoping Ten Hag messes up, hoping United loses. Because, hey, when we lose, when we're playing crappy, when we're not winning out there, when our players are not performing to the best of their ability, like UGARTE and them, these reporters go after us, right? Because, listen, they say hated, always hated, never ignored, or something like that. I forgot how it says, the saying goes, right? Hated, adored, never, yeah, hated, adored, never ignored. That's how these people are, right? They're always on our case for Man United. They want us to fail. So Ten Hag cannot fail. You know what I mean? He needs to make sure, man, in this game, we get that W. It is going to be crucial, you know? All right, let's jump into something else. What did Ten Hag say? You know, obviously, it was question on the press conference regarding these talking about Ronaldo's recent comments, right? Ten Hag had said Ten Hag's response was like, look, he stated that Ronaldo. Oh yeah, so basically he was asked, what do you think about what Cristiano Ronaldo said about your team? Basically, he said, listen, man. One thing Ten Hag was like, I know where my team is going. I know where we are. We're gonna challenge for everything, right? And he said Ronaldo is over there in the Saudi league, so everybody's entitled for their own opinion. I think his answer to the Ten Hag comment was pretty good. Basically, said, listen, I know what I'm doing here with my team. I know where we're going with this team. We're building something here, right? And everybody's entitled to their own opinion. And he's over there in the Saudi league. He's really he doesn't really know what is going on over here. So to me, it was a good response, right? Good response, and I hope that it shuts a couple of people from talking so much about this whole Ronaldo's comments, But people, these comments have been trending because Ronaldo was saying we need to rebuild the whole team. He called out the manager that his mentality is not there to be able to manage big name players. So he called out Ten Hag on that. But hey, Ten Hag here said, listen, everybody's entitled to their own opinions, man. He left it at that. Ten Hag obviously is going to focus on coaching the team and making sure that we're getting those wins, right? So let's see what else is going on with Man United, guys. We have other news. What else? We know that Ugarte may be making his debut, right? And let's see what else we have going on. I see that there's some reports here regarding our financial situation, right? So basically, Manchester United recent financial report shows a staggering 257.4 million loss over 3 years, right? This is far beyond the Premier League's acceptable limit. Despite selling players and some financial maneuvers, the club is still walking a tightrope. The reason we're talking about the finances, this was not part of the press conference, but it was a report that I saw. I said, let me bring it to you guys so we can chat, because we know if we're hit with financial, constraints at FFP and all this situation, we saw what happened to Everton, Nottingham Forest, point deduction, and all this stuff. United, based on this, even though we had a huge loss, we're walking a very tight rope. But the report says with the financial constraint, they're making sure that all the moves they're making, they're not gonna get them in trouble. That's why we didn't go and splash the cash, right? Because in order for you to spend, money needs to come in. That's why, for example, like McTominay, they had to wait until Napoli, kind of finalized the deal or pretty much offered the money for McTominay that we were able to bring in Ugarte in, right? So those kind of deals, and also offloading and the player like Jadon Sancho to Chelsea, right? To send him to Chelsea, that way you remove his salary from the books, right? So those are kind of things. Let's see what else we say here about the finances. So yeah, Manchester United financial results for 2023-2024 season. Despite we know that we had losses, but prior to that we had posted sub revenue The club is in the red once again. I mean, that's a tightrope right there. What does that mean for the future? So let's see. Man United reported a staggering 115 million loss from 2023-24 season. That's their fifth consecutive loss. Basically, it's a concerning trend amid significant transfer market activity. And so, what could this mean for the club? Despite generating record revenue, right, of 661 million, United financial results highlight it's a troubling pattern, thanks to the Glazers, right? Um, so again, even though we were able to offload the likes of Mason Greenwood, Sancho, Scott McTominay, all those, they still could get us into trouble, right? But so far, I trust the team that is behind the scenes working the numbers. I think we should be okay, right? We're not going to see us being deducted points or anything like that. But talking about point deduction, there's this one team called Manchester City, right? I'm checking this on Twitter here. Manchester City, apparently we hear that those 115 charges, guys, 115 charges, finally they're going to start the hearing. The hearing on Manchester City's 115 charges will begin next Monday, right? What is going to happen to Man City? I don't know, right? Are they going to, because 115 charges, that's a lot of charges, man. Are they going to, I don't know what you guys think. Is Man City going to be able to beat these charges? Or is the Premier League going to just slap on the wrist kind of thing and then just give him a fine? Because if they do just give him a fine, then it's really ridiculous, because Man City, come on, man, they're owned by the sheikhs. Money's not a problem for them. Even if you hit them with $1 billion fine or something like that, they can cough that up very easily, right? So if anything, if they're found guilty, I wouldn't mind, I wouldn't mind a little bit of relegation, right? Send them down there, man. we shall see, man. I'm just hating because Man City, they've been that good, right? You guys let me know what you think. What would you suggest the punishment should be for Man City if they're found guilty for those 115 charges, right? Because we saw that the Premier League was pretty harsh on Everton, Nottingham Forest. They deducted points and all this stuff. So what are they going to do for these 115 charges? I don't know. We shall see. But at least we know now that the talk when it comes to these 115 charges will begin next Monday, and I'm sure news will be coming all over the place talking about this, right? And we shall see what is going to end up happening. All right, so let's see what else I got for you guys. I'm checking on Twitter, because sometimes you got to check on Twitter to see what is happening. Everything is dominated by these Cristiano Ronaldo's comments, right? So Ten Hag today on the press conference, what he actually said is, when he was asked about Cristiano Ronaldo's recent comments, he said, listen, he is far away in Saudi, far away from Manchester United, so everyone can have an opinion and is entitled to have an opinion. It is okay, right? That's Ten Hag for you, man. My manager, man. He's not going to be rattled, because imagine the amount of scrutiny Ten Hag gets. It is insane, right? It's an insane amount of scrutiny. So this news, the pylon that came from Eric, from Cristiano Ronaldo's comments, it's not really gonna really bother him much, because he's used to it, right? These news reports, like the last time he was managing that team, Twente, in that testimonial, they said he lost the match, whereas he did not lose the match. They just publish fake news out there that way to ruin his character, to make him look crappy, like a crappy manager. So, which is something, which is frustrating. But I'm sure Ten Hag, he's a stubborn guy. He is tough-skinned, so he will continue pushing. He'll continue pushing and move on and see what's going to transpire down the road. But one thing I can say is, for him, he needs to shut these media pundits and all these haters down by getting us back into winning ways, right? So again, last but not least, my predicted lineup is going to go like this for that game. Again, I hope Ten Hag plays it with his best team. My lineup is going to go Onana on goal, Delete, Lisandro Martinez left back. It's going to be Dalot right back, Mazraoui midfield. He has to start Ugarte and Casemiro. No, sorry, Ugarte and Kobe Mainu. Bruno on up top on 10. And then right wing, Amad Diallo. Left wing is going to be Rashford. Up top, Xerxes. Now, if he wants to really shore up that midfield, Kobe Mainu can earn a much needed rest, right? He can bench Kobe Mainu and start Casemiro and Ugarte. That way, right? That midfield, now okay, if you have Casemiro and Ugarte in the midfield, so it means now Casemiro, you can play him a little bit advanced, right? A little bit advanced, and then that way he doesn't have to do much of that defensive work in that midfield, right? And then Ugarte can cover that portion of the job, be more defensive, winning duels, getting the ball, that kind of situation. Ugarte can do that. Casemiro play a little bit advanced, and then of course you have Bruno in that 10. By doing that, you're gonna show up the midfield. That way we ensure that, listen, going forward, our midfield is straight. Because in the past that's where we've been scored on, right? And we know games are lost and won in the midfield. So once you contain that midfield with those two, for example, that will be a good move, right? Now, that could be a little bit too aggressive for the Southampton game. You can play the two of them if you are away at Liverpool, away at Man City, kind of thing. It will make sense, or away at Arsenal, right? Because then you make sure you show up that midfield. Southampton, we should not take them lightly, but I think if you have Kobe Mainu and Ugarte, they can do the job, right? Now, if Ten Hag wants to be more safe, that way he doesn't show the world he's benching Casemiro because he played terrible against Liverpool, he can say, you know what? Okay, Casemiro, you start with Ugarte. That way, Ugarte gets his debut. Casemiro also plays. That way, everybody's happy. Because now we saw reports that Casemiro, apparently he might be a little bit not too happy because he's being used, apparently, quote unquote, as a scapegoat for how United performed. So he's feeling like, hey man, this is not fair. It was not only me who made the mistakes, kind of thing. But even though his two mistakes cost us 2 goals, so he may feel like, okay, Ten Hag may play it safe. Instead of benching him, he starts him with Ugarte. We know Kobe Mainu can use the break, which is fine. And then later on, 60th minute, you bring in Kobe Mainu, right? It would make sense. Because honestly, we know Casemiro is not going anywhere. There were links from him going to the Turkish league. I think it was Fenerbahce. And Anthony also, there were being links that he's going to go to Galatasaray, I think. Those links, they're not going to happen, right? Fabrizio Romano confirmed this. Casemiro is going to stay. It's basically Ineos. They're going to look at maybe offloading him maybe in January or next summer. So now Ten Hag is stuck with Casemiro, who a player, Casemiro is world class. So what Ten Hag may need to do is to find a way to incorporate him into the team, right? You got to find a way to say, okay, I have Casemiro here. He's not going anywhere. He's the highest paid player, highest earner in the team. Instead of just having him hang on the bench, find a way to help him out in that midfield. Find a way, Ten Hag, to make him more, for example, Casemiro doesn't feel that he has to cover a lot of ground, right? So, how do you do that? You give him help, like the likes of Ugarte and him. That way he doesn't have to cover a lot of space. Then Casemiro can flourish in that midfield, That way you're using him until comes a time next summer where you can offload him. You know what I mean? But for now, he's here to stay. So Ten Hag needs to come up with a way of using it. You know what I mean? So I think that's what Ten Hag has a lot of work to do. today on his press conference, he said, listen, all the games that are coming up, he says he's not going to start with excuses. There's not going to be excuses. Every game that we're going to play, we need to win it, right? We have to go trying to win each and every game. No excuses. Like I'm glad he said that because a lot of people were waiting on that press conference, thinking like, oh, Ten Hag is going to use well. Still have injuries. I still don't have Luke Shaw. I still don't have Rasmus. Lenny Yoro, no, right? So Ten Hag was like, listen, no excuses. We are going to each and every of these games with the mentality of we have to win those matches regardless, right? And Ten Hag knows. Listen, he was back this summer, right? He was back, and um, he knows like okay, he has these 5 players that came in, young players. Yes, it's gonna take time. It's gonna take time for them to be bedded into the team, the playing style, and all this. All this stuff will take time. It will work itself out. But one thing that Ten Hag knows for a fact, he does not have time, right? Basically, in these next couple of games, the next 4 games coming up, he has to win, right? So he needs to do whatever he can to win those games while at the same time trying to bed those new players into his playing style and to get them up to speed. You know what I mean? So hopefully, everything works out. I know for us fans, we are not really going to be that patient with him, right? To give him time to do this because we want wins. These losses that we've been facing, they've been really painful, right? So we want some wins, man. We want to celebrate those wins. That way we can have a good weekend. Let's start with this weekend here, man. This Saturday, right? We're playing at in the noon time. So we want to get that win. At least the weekend will be, positive, right? And no, you know what? Ideally, I don't want us to win just one goal. Ideally, I want us to win, say, listen, 2-3, right? That way, people can say, oh, it wasn't luck, right? Man United played well, right? Ten Hag set them up nicely to get that win. It wasn't just a roll of a dice. Okay, we got that. We nicked a goal and we won the match. We don't want to win that way. We want to win properly. You know what I mean? We want to win properly. That way, people can say, okay, Ten Hag is doing something here. So that's what we're hoping. You guys, let me know what's your predicted score. I'm gonna go with Manchester United. Man, listen, we're gonna win 2-0. Okay, Manchester United 2, Southampton 0. And you know what? A loss, it is not an option, and we're gonna get this win, guys. All right. Let me know your predicted lineup. Let me know your predicted score for this game. I appreciate you all being here. I appreciate you supporting the channel. I appreciate you guys hitting those likes, hitting those subscribe, following the channel. Thank you so much, guys. I'll talk to you on the next one. Peace out. Doot, doot, doot.